All right, so in this video, I'm going to go through a couple of different things here, including how to prepare this mesh for higher poly sculpting using subdivision inside of Zbrush. But first thing first, as you guys can see, this guy is missing a neck. He doesn't have a neck, right? So that's going to be the first thing we address here, is adding his neck. So to do that, I'm just going to use my insert mesh brush or insert primitive, which is bit, right? Bit. That's going to bring up our insert mesh brush here, and I'm just going to use a cylinder. Insert cylinder. I'm going to close out that so it doesn't make that noise anymore. Insert cylinder here, and with symmetry on, just click and drag. It's going to draw out a cylinder, and the neck can be pretty forgiving. Just drag it out into a size and length that is mildly appropriate. It doesn't, don't make it super big, don't make it super small. So there you go. I have that. I'm going to bring up in the side view here. I'm going to bring up my my transpose tool and just going to rotate it down a little bit like that. Perfect. And then I'm going to bring up my move brush, which is BMV. And I'm just gonna pull this neck in like so. Hold it. And then from the front view here, just gonna pull it out just a tad. This guy's neck doesn't need to be super big. Pull it out like so. And oops, pull this down a little bit to kind of give the illusion that it's going into like some sort of chest, right? We don't need to do the chest, but I typically like to do that. Something like this will be just fine for the neck. And as you can see, when we use the insert mesh brush, if I expand the subtool menu here, you will see that it's one tool. Like it's not a, it didn't add like a separate tool, right? So now that we have that, I'm gonna hold down Control and then drag like this to clear the mask. And then these two guys are one piece, but they need to be down meshed together, okay? And to bring up this wireframe mode, just a Shift F to bring it on and turn it off. Just click Shift F again. Alternatively, you can also click down here. That will turn it on and off. Cool. So now you have this, just down mesh it. And to down mesh it, once you have the mask clear, just hold down Control, drag again. It'll down mesh it. See that? So now you have one piece. So this is a little bit too like geometric for me, so I'm just gonna smooth everybody out a little bit here. Hold down Shift, smooth everybody out. And then the neck is fairly straightforward. The only thing I'm gonna do for this is our neck has a muscle that basically go from this point toward the clavicle like that. It's called the sternomastochord. You don't have to remember the name of it. Just know that it goes like this from the base of the skull, right, to the front, like where our clavicles are, kind of like this. You don't want to make it like too big and bulky unless you are, sculpting some sort of bodybuilder or a boxer or somebody who trains the neck. But everybody else, you just kind of want the hint of direction going that way, like that. Right? So very lightly, I'm going to build that up. And that's all you have to do for that. And then I actually think it could be a little smaller even, but for our purpose, that's all good. And then I'm going to hold down Alt and just carve in a little bit on the inside like this. All right, smooth everybody out. And you could go in here too and kind of sculpt this little detail out a little bit here. Add an apple, whatever. Like this. And I'm going to call this good for what we're doing. All right, so that's going to be how you add a neck to a person. This neck is actually kind of long, but we're not adding a torso. Our render is going to be like crop out like that, so it's all good. All right, so now the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to Shift F on my keyboard and I'm going to bring this wireframe view up, and notice how we have a bunch of different poly groups going on in our objects here. So I'm just going to hit Control W to quickly group everybody together so that it's all just one poly group. For some reason, some student have told me that Control W doesn't work on their computer for this command. So if you're one of those students whose computer for some reason doesn't work with Control W, you can access it via geometry. Actually, I'm so sorry, that's not there. Is it under poly group? I'm gonna undo this. So you can see like that, and it is auto group, right? Like that, and it will group everybody together. That is the same as hitting Control W. Okay. I'm gonna smooth stuff out here a little bit, smooth the nose out a little bit. All right, so next thing we're gonna do is we're going to get rid of this bottom facing here. We don't want that to be there for what we're about to do next. So to do that, I'm going to hold down Control Shift, click this little brush menu here with Control Shift held down. I'm going to use the knife curve brush. All right, and just click and drag like this. And if you guys see this little gradient on the line there, so this gradient, wherever the gradient is pointing toward, that's the direction it's going to cut. Not sure why I did that, to be honest. That was weird, but that's a visual glitch there. So again, if you hold down Control and Shift, where the gradient is pointing toward, that's where it's going to cut, and it'll cut. I really don't know why it does that, but if I spin it, it goes away. But you guys can see here, our cut is not even. See how it's slanted, and that is because we have perspective on. The knife curve brush does not care about symmetry. So what you have to do is actually turn perspective off for this, and then do a cut. That's really annoying, but it's gonna go away. So with perspective off, you're gonna see that it creates a nice cut across. Okay, cool. So once you have this, at the bottom, notice it's a different poly group. So I'm gonna hold down Control Shift again, click on the brush menu and switch back to the select rect one. All right. And with this select rect selected, I'm just gonna tap on this head. And once I do it, it will hide that poly group there. Okay. Once I have it hidden, I'm gonna go and delete that bottom face one. I have Del hidden right here, so I'm gonna click it, and that's that's just a custom UI thing. But if you don't have it, it is under Geometry, Modify Topology, Delete Hidden. Okay. So once you do that, you will see that it is now hollow. Make sure you do that step. Okay. Now that you have it hidden, what I am going to do next, I'm going to go into the subtool menu here. I have Ugly Chap. Maybe I'm a little mean to this guy. I'm going to click Duplicate to make a copy. Ugly Chap 1. Okay. And notice these little eyeballs, they are these little visibility eyeballs. If you turn them off, they will not be visible. See that? So make sure if you don't see something, make sure these guys are checked on. Sometimes students will actually accidentally hit these and turn them off. All right, so now I have Ugly Chap 1. I can rename this Ugly Chap like copy, just so I know that it's the copy and not the original version. So what we're going to do with this copy is we're going to Z-remesh this. But before we do that, we are actually going to draw some Z-remesh guy. Okay, so I'm going to type in BZR on my keyboard. That's going to bring up the Z-remesher guide. And what this does is, in class I explained it longer, but it might be too long for a video. But essentially, if the Z-remesher guide brush, if you draw it along the shape of an object when Z-remesher runs, it is going to attempt to keep the edge loops around that object, okay? Hopefully that makes sense for those of you who are maybe a little bit more advanced in your 3D classes. You might understand what that means a little better. There you go. So I'm just drawing a couple of loops here. I'm just going to do one around the face like this, right? And then I'm going to do one for the eyes. Oops, I accidentally delete them. Don't do that. Yeah, so select that. And I might do another loop, see what happens. Oops. Okay, so those are the two loops, or five loops that I have drawn. So once I have done that, I'm going to go into ZRemesher. Make sure the whole time I am doing it on the copy, not the original, right? So I'm going to hide the subtool here, go into Geometry, ZRemesher, and I am going to click on ZRemesher. Going to take a little bit of time here. This little progress bar, it is thinking. And let's see, hopefully it doesn't crash my ZBrush, because if it does, I'm going to have to restart this whole video, and I don't want to do that. All right, so it did a decent job, not quite great, but if you guys see here, we're having like two meshes on top of each other. And so when you see that, just click solo. For me, it's over here, but for you guys, it might be here somewhere. Click solo. Here's our mesh, and you can hit Shift F to check the edge loop, and the edge loop did okay. This I'm not too happy with like how these rectangles are connected, but for the purpose of this class, it's okay. It's not great. It's actually not even desirable. This is really weird that it did that, but again, it's okay because that part of the nose doesn't move. All right, so now that we have this head here, what we're going to do next is we're just going to so we have really nice topology flow, right? At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to subdivide this. In the geometry menu, we have this divide. So we're going to click it once and then again. So twice, I get 180,000 points. Obviously, it's nice and smooth, but we lost a lot of that sculptural details, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get those details back from our original head sculpt, this guy, right? So how do we do that? So what we need to do is these visibilities. First of all, make sure you are selecting the new copy, the smooth one, the one that we did the ZRemesher on. Make sure that that's the one you have selected, which is very important. Secondly, if you guys are following this tutorial, you should only have three subtools in your subtool menu. The original, the copy, and the eyeballs. I'm going to turn the eyeballs visibility off. Okay, very important that you do that. Make sure it's off. Now with this guy selected, I'm going to go to project and then just click on project all. Okay. And it took no time at all, and we got our sculptural details back, right? So now we have a subdivision with all the we have subdivision model with all the details from the Dynamesh sculpt, right? So that's the Dynamesh, that's the subdivision, and it's kind of like visually they are basically identical, right? You can barely tell which one is which is a good thing. So at this point, you can subdivide this once more, and you're gonna get like 700,000 points. So you can go in and kind of resculpt in any of the details that were kind of ruined by the Dynameshing step. So for example, this looked kind of weird there. You can fix that. The crease in the mouth is, basically gone. So we're gonna bring that back, right? Like using dam standard. Yeah, so at this point, I'm just gonna go in and sculpt back any kind of crease detail or any kind of fine detail that got blurred out or just got kind of lost during the dynameshing step we took earlier. Especially in the eyes, right? Like the eyes, like all this stuff, it needs to be a lot crisper. So this is how you do the details. At this level here, once you have once you have subdivided, you can go in and kind of re-crisp these details back up. And you have the big details already, so kind of leave those alone unless you kind of want to change them again. That's up to you. But once you have the subdivision, you can kind of subdivide it really high and kind of do these kind of high level details, right? So at this point, once you have Z-remesh and subdivide, you can go in and crisp everybody up nicely. Okay. So anyway, you can spend your time doing this. Take a look at your favorite references. Do whatever you want to this. At this point, it's whatever. It's gonna take a long time, and that's not the purpose of this tutorial. So I'm going to move on to the next step. Okay. So once you have this done, again, make sure I have solo on this whole time, so I'm only seeing one mesh, because if I don't have solo on, that's what I'm seeing, right? So the next step in this tutorial is we're going to talk about UV unwrapping. So what we're going to do is we're going to UV unwrap this head. What we're going to do, I'm going to, it's actually up here, Z plugin, and then go to UV master, and then click on work on clone. It's going to make a clone of the mesh, and it's also the clone that it makes, it will always be the lowest subdivision possible, right? See how low that is? So notice how when I click on it, like that menu went away, and it's gonna go away every time I move my mouse off of it. I find that really annoying. So for me, I'm gonna expand this side menu here by double clicking on this little arrow, collapse that brush menu, expand the Z plugin, and just drag it over here. So now this thing is always on the side. I just accidentally clicked unwrap all there with symmetry on. It doesn't matter if it's unwrap or unwrap all. In this case, because I only have one mesh, right? But if you have more than one mesh, you can click unwrap all, and it will try to unwrap all the subtool. Okay, but now I only have one, so I already clicked it. Let's see what I have. And you can check it by clicking on flatten. And that's what I have. It looks like it cuts my mesh in two, right? Like that. It looks like it cuts the neck and the head off. And just to check, I'm going to click on check seams, and that's going to tell me where the islands are. So you can see I have one seam that goes like basically across the face like that, and that's creating one island that's the top head and one island that's the bottom head. This is extremely undesirable because we do not want a seam that runs across the front of our character's face like this. So what we're going to do is we're going to click enable control painting, click protect, and that will, don't know why it does that. This is really weird, but it must be a bug. If somebody knows why it does this, please let me know. But I'm going to paint red, and coincidentally, it seems like I'm painting the head back on at the same time. It is so weird. But so what protect does is whatever you have painted red, it is going to try to protect it, quote unquote. I'm actually going to use a mouse here because if I use, you guys can use the stylus as well, but if you use the stylus, make sure you are pressing down really hard because it is like pressure sensitive. So just make sure you press it down hard so that you want 100% like protection in the front face here. So for the back face, I'm going to switch back to attract, and I'm going to reduce this, and I'm going to switch over to the mouse here, and I'm just going to draw a blue line up like this. This is hilarious. I don't know why it's doing this. There you go. Just gonna draw a blue line. I wish it would stop, but it's not stopping. So draw a line here and hold down shift and drag. That will draw a straight line up like that. So the attract will basically, ZBrush will try to put the seams there. It is not going to like adhere to this like 100%. There's going to be some kind of weird seam issue like that it's going to do, but it will be better than nothing. So once I have all that, click unwrapped again. It's going to go and it's done. If I click flatten again, that's my new UV and it looks a lot better. So I'm going to click unflatten to make it get it back to this shape. And then I'm going to click copy UV. And then up in my subtool menu here, I have copy CL underscore ugly chap. That's the one I'm seeing right now. That's the clone. Because remember, we click work on clone, so it created a clone. And this is our original guy. So once so make sure you switch back to your original tool. And then just once you're here, just click paste UV. Okay? So what happened is it took the UV from the clone and pasted it onto our high poly mesh. Just keep in mind that because our mesh has subdivision, you cannot like click flatten and check it. If I click it right now, it says yada yada yada. This has subdivision. Please, you can't do it. So that's that. I'm going to change the material back here and turn off the poly paint so I can see what I'm looking at. But yeah, so that is kind of where we left off in the class. At this stage, once you have your UV set up and your subdivision level set up, you can go in and sculpt basically whatever level of details you want. Like, you know, start doing all the kind of secondary level of detail like I show you guys how to identify in class. And then the tertiary, like the pores and things like that, those we're going to rely on alpha, which we will cover in another class. But anything like these kind of details, right, like this, this is where you can go in and really have fun with, you know, kind of sculpting these sort of quasi-secondary, quasi-tertiary level of detail. So have fun with it. Go in, go crazy, do all kinds of nice detail at this stage, and yeah. So save your and last but not least, once you have your subdivision on, if you forget to turn symmetry on, like you accidentally turn it off and you like sculpt on one side and you want to mirror it, you cannot mirror with symmetry on. So just make sure you have symmetry on. Okay, so yeah, that's very important. But anyway, the tutorial is getting long, so I'm going to end it right here. Hopefully this was helpful, and please reach out if you guys have any questions. All right, thank you.